This is Tyler. We are going to continue Unit 4, Notes 5, The Great War. This is Part 2. We were talking about propaganda being used by all nations involved in World War I to encourage support for the war. Each nation used propaganda. Propaganda is meant to influence people's opinion. In the U.S., most people were not interested in fighting Europe's messy war. Originally, propaganda in the U.S. discouraged war and supported neutrality. Ultimately, as the stalemate continued and the war's events began to impact the United States, the messages of our propaganda began to change. Okay. So on page 12, you can highlight some clues, context clues for the definition of propaganda, and then make sure you get this part in notes on page 13 filled in. Propaganda, all nations involved in World War I used propaganda to influence people's opinions about the war and motivate them into supporting the war in many ways. Like most Americans, President Woodrow Wilson wanted to remain neutral. He felt the United States should be impartial and not choose sides. He ran for re-election in 1916 with the campaign slogan, "He kept us out of war." All the while, the United States had been lending money to allied countries of Britain and France. Germany was using their U-boats or underwater boats or submarines to attack ships that they felt were bringing in aid to their enemies. We are going to leave this last blank empty for now. We'll finish up talking about Woodrow Wilson later on in our notes, but for now we're just going to define him as the U.S. president who tries unsuccessfully to keep the United States out of Europe's war. Neutrality, most Americans wanted to remain neutral and stay out of Europe's war. The U.S. was sending money and supplies to the Allies. German submarine warfare was interfering with U.S. trade and transportation. So you need to pick a number, 1 through 4, write it here for number 2 for German heritage. These are things that happened to American Germans and Austrians. If you chose number 1, your favorite Beethoven music is banned because Beethoven was a German composer. If you chose number 2, your favorite college class German is canceled, so because they kind of assumed that only spies for the Central Powers would want to learn to speak German. If you chose number 3, you now have to refer to your favorite meal as Liberty Steaks instead of hamburgers. That's because Hamburg is a city in Germany, and that's where hamburgers were kind of invented. If you chose number 4, you are tarred and feathered. Okay, the policy that kept the United States out of the war for 3 years was called. Please write your answer down here on page 16. Check for understanding number 3. Neutrality or isolationism is what you should have down. And check for understanding number 4, right here. Why did America need the Allies to win the war? We had loaned them a lot of money. We kind of needed them to win so they could pay us back. All right, it's been a year since the war broke out in Europe, and work has been busier than ever. As a result of you working so much, your poor dog Oscar has not been getting the attention he needs. Thankfully, your friend studying abroad in England says she's willing to take him in. Okay, Oscar will be shipped to New York and then board a British passenger liner, the Lusitania, which is on its return trip to Liverpool, England. So pick 1 or 2 where it says Oscar. The Lusitania sank within 15 minutes and Oscar was not saved if you chose number 1. If you chose number 2, Oscar's crate was conveniently already placed on a lifeboat, so he was able to survive. In 1914, Germans introduced their underwater boat or submarine. It proved to be highly effective. During World War I, Germans engaged in what they called unrestricted submarine warfare, meaning they attacked any and all ships from enemy countries. The British passenger liner, the Lusitania, was torpedoed and sunk by German U-boats. Germans claimed the ship was carrying ammunition. 1,198, almost 1,200 people total killed. 128 of them are Americans. Americans are outraged at this and edged towards more war with Germany. The crisis over submarine warfare led to the United States taking steps to strengthen its military. In 1916, the U.S. doubles the size of our army, providing funds to build more warships. Even with this new military buildup, President Wilson is still crossing his fingers, hoping to stay out of the war. Okay, but here's kind of some photographs of the war industry ramping up. In 1915, German U-boat sank the Lusitania, a British passenger ship carrying 128 Americans. German submarine warfare interfered with U.S. shipping and trade, and many Americans were getting frustrated. So in your notes packet, would you please highlight Lusitania? Germany's leader, Kaiser Wilhelm, had used the war as an opportunity to move troops into its western borders with France and Belgium. Russia had had an alliance with Serbia, and they helped them fight Austria and Germany. Russia had also had an alliance with Britain and France, and by September of 1914, roughly 6 million soldiers were sent to war across Europe. There's Kaiser Wilhelm and his amazing mustache. I told you in our last set of notes that World War I is the war of epic mustaches. The war started with older methods of fighting, and armies rode in on horseback and cavalries, but new methods of fighting emerged in this industrialized era. For 3 years, World War I is fought mostly in 600 miles of deeply dug trenches across France. Neither side is able to make much progress, resulting in a stalemate. So fill this in on page 13. Trench warfare. The Allies and the Central Powers dug more than 600 miles of trenches through France. Trenches were infested with rats, lice, and diseases and led to a stalemate. You're working late at the hotel, and you see your boss, Frank Miller, sitting in the famous Taft chair with his head hung low and the phonograph playing a popular anti-war tune. Literally, this propaganda, this music that was popular in the United States is talking about how we don't want to go to war. I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. Who dares to send him off to fight and kill someone else's darling child? So there's this really anti-war. We're not going to get involved. We're not going to get roped into this until a few years later. So Mr. Miller is a pacifist, and like President Wilson, he's hoping that America will continue to remain neutral and not choose sides. But you both are well aware that this seems inevitable. The United States will ultimately get drawn into Europe's war. The year is 1917, and what reason are you going to feel is most compelling that will finally lead the United States to enter the war? Pick one of these numbers, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and war on the horizon is where you're going to write that answer. If you chose number 1, you are getting frustrated with Germans' submarine warfare. If you chose number 2, the Submarine telegram will be problematic for you. If you chose number 3, the fact that the Russians pull out of the war after their Russian Revolution is going to worry you. And then number 4, the interfering with U.S. shipping and U.S. trade is going to bother you quite a bit, especially after Germans sink 4 more American ships and 36 lives were lost. German Foreign Secretary sent a telegraph message to the German ambassador in Mexico. It was intercepted by British intelligence and sent along to the United States. The note suggested that Mexico should form the alliance with Germany and be a part of the Central Powers, and that when the Central Powers won the war, then Mexico would be given back land that the United States had taken during our era of manifest destiny with the Texas annexation and Mexican cession, areas of New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. Okay. A revolution in Russia removed them from fighting in the war, leaving France and Britain more desperate in 1917. After Britain had gotten a hold of a telegraph Germany sent to convince Mexico to help the Central Powers, the United States was more convinced that it would be in our best interest to help the Allies. After Germany broke its promise to end their unrestricted submarine warfare and continue to torpedo American ships, the United States had had enough. On April 2nd, 1917, President Wilson called for Congress to declare war on Germany. 4 days later, Congress took a vote and they declared war, and the propaganda for the United States basically changes overnight. The government shifts to a wartime production and encourages citizens to buy war bonds and support the war effort. So check for understanding number 5. The Submarine telegram was trying to convince Germany to form an alliance, or trying to convince Mexico to form an alliance with Germany. Check for understanding number 6. The most compelling reason, what ultimately gets the United States to declare war on Germany, is the unrestricted submarine warfare. In February 1917, Germany went back to the unrestricted submarine warfare. Soon after that, 6 American merchant ships were sank. On April 6, 1917, we declare war on Germany. We literally change our tune. The song is now not I Didn't Raise My Boy to Be a Soldier. It's Over There. All right. A military draft in the United States in 1917 ensured that America would have enough soldiers to fight, but it was evident the war would also need support from civilians in the home front. Americans rationed fuel, knit blankets and socks for soldiers, bought war bonds to fund the war. Industry cooperated with the government to manufacture war supplies. America's farmers were encouraged to invest in buying more land and equipment in order to grow more food that we would then send to the Allied countries. It's really hard for farmers in France to use their land to grow food when it was in fact destroyed by miles and miles of trenches. World War I ended up costing the United States roughly $35.5 billion, paid for partly through taxing, but also through the sale of war bonds. People were getting paid more in their jobs, but at the same time, the price of necessities increased as well. On page 14, defining some of the effects of World War I, the wartime economy. We shifted producing more materials. An impact of that is going to be the increase of wages, but also the cost of living with the prices of food and housing are going to rise, and so we're going to end up spending over $30 billion on the war. Now that the war has officially begun, there's a surge of patriotism sweeping through the town. There's propaganda posters plastered everywhere, but this one seems to be speaking right to you. So pick number 1 or 2. If you chose number 1, you're drafted. You chose number 2, you choose to enlist. Either way, you're going to fight in World War I. As the U.S. entered the war, it was necessary to recruit more soldiers. Conscription or forced military service is something new that results in about 2.8 million Americans being drafted. Not all soldiers were drafted into World War I. Over 2 million were actually excited to enlist and go off and fight. After 12 weeks of boot camp, you're deployed to the Western Front in France. 2 million American troops marched into Europe's bloody stalemate. American soldiers were inexperienced, but they were fresh, which is why the European soldiers nicknamed them doughboys, because dough is fresh. Okay? And they rose to the challenge. Check for understanding number 7. The nickname for the American soldiers given to them by European soldiers is doughboys. You arrive at the Western Front in 1918, and the hardships hit you pretty quickly. Trench life is horrible. The stalemate gives you little hope that life's going to change anytime soon. As time went on, the deadlock had formed on the battlefields of France to form a stalemate. Basically, no progress had been made. New weapons were being used that seemed to be made more for defense. So we're fighting defensive war on both sides. These are the French, Allied trenches. Over here we've got the massive German trenches, and in between is an area of land called no man's land because literally no man wanted to go there. Okay, along the bottom of the trenches, you'll see they have what they call duck boards. Underneath, there's an extra ditch for draining. Why were the trenches built? As defense to protect soldiers. So, this is the last one we'll get to today. Pick a number, 1 through 5. See how trenches affect you. If you choose 1, you get lice. If you choose 2, rats are everywhere. If you choose number 3, your trench keeps flooding. Sometimes it would fill up to soldiers' waist. If you choose number 4, you have trench foot. Ugh. If you get number 5, you get pretty sick. We also have a lot of dysentery because of unsanitary conditions, and the Spanish flu was killing a lot of people at this time period. So here are some of the circumstances you might. Here's some dead rats, some severe trench foot. Those soldiers are airing out their feet. This is mild trench foot. some negatives of trench warfare. And that's where we'll leave it for today. We'll finish up the last set of notes later on.